Yep.
Hi,
Hello.
I'm Nidhi, and welcome to Hangouts on Air with Creatively Unsettled. Today we have with us Srinivas Ramanujam, Practice Lead Agribusiness at Wilgrow Innovations and Foundation. Srinivas is passionate about human-centered design and innovation in business models that have significant impact on society and environment. He has 15 years of experience in sales, marketing, brand management, and strategy across retail finance, consumer goods, automotive, farm equipment, and agri input sectors. Thank you for joining us, Srinivas. We are really glad to have you on board.
Glad to be speaking with you, Nidhi.
Great, great. So, Srinivas, just to begin with the conversation, how are innovations in agriculture helping marginal farmers having small holdings in improving their socio-economic status?
I think what it's done is help small farmers get access to services and support that a lot of large farmers took for granted. Uh, for example, the best illustration I can give of this is the innovation which happened in the shampoo industry. Until shampoos got shampoos got out of their bottles and into a sachet, the sector never grew or expanded in this country. And suddenly, after the sachets came up, everyone started using it. It's the same thing here. Uh, be it equipment or even farm management services, access to markets. It is always the fact that if you owned larger amount of land, or if you produced more, or if you are a person of higher importance, then you had a better price and you had a better livelihood. Now innovations are helping a lot of small farmers come together, uh, opening up new markets, and that's just fundamentally changing the dynamics of how these people are able to approach farming. And that has anyway directly led to an increased income, much better livelihoods, and of course, yeah, so the economic status improves too.
Okay. So,
So again, specifically, we've spoken a lot in this country about defragmentation, and that has happened for a lot of cultural reasons. But despite that, and there are enough doomsdayers who say that land is getting defragmented, it's not economically viable. There are enough farmers leaving their farmland and migrating to urban centers. But despite all that, the fact that a lot of startups now, it could be someone like a Kamal Kisan who's making really small pieces of farm machinery, and it's designed for 1 acre farmers. Kamal Kisan is able to help them approach horticulture farming in a more scientific fashion. So they're able to reduce labor costs, they're able to reduce water, irrigation costs, they're able to reduce pesticide and fertilizer costs. Or someone like a company called Lean Agri, which is doing farm management and advisory services to really small marginal farmers on when they should apply their farm inputs. Or there's a bunch of companies like Krishi Hub, Crow Farm, who's trying to aggregate, uh, supplies from companies and get it to, give them access to large buyers like hotels and restaurants and caterers. So what it's all done is suddenly it doesn't matter anymore if you have 1 acre or if you have 100 acres. Yeah. And the last I heard, I was speaking to one particular entrepreneur who is working on building a platform, a commodities exchange, if you wish, for small and marginal farmers. And he's based out of, he's working in places like Hubli and Dharwad. That's not a place where you generally associate entrepreneurship and this kind of high-tech entrepreneurship there, right? And it's really pretty interesting. He is able to get small farmers. He's able to connect them to a commodities exchange. He's able to, get access to options like futures and derivatives for small onion and ragi farmers. So scale fundamentally the way it was in that unified single entity as a farmer and farmland most likely will not hold true, and I'm seeing a lot of it today. Yeah, and at Wilgrow, where I've been looking after the agri-business. Uh, we've been actively working on such entrepreneurs because 80% of the country's farmers or farm holdings are less than 10 acres. Now, so when you have this kind of a statistic in farm land holding, there's no way any kind of innovation from the US or anywhere else in the West will apply. So if we had to make an impact, if Wilgrow has to help entrepreneurs working in India and working with helping farmers in India, we have to work and we have to make business models which work for small farmers. And with the last 10 years, I think a lot of work that Wilgrow has done has been primarily here, and we see more number of such companies every day. The interesting thing is that it's not that the innovation pipeline is light and there are not too many companies. In fact, it's been increasing. There are far more people working on innovation, and there are far more ideas coming up. I think right now, the amount of innovation is not the problem, or the number of ideas is not the problem. I think it's more about how do you help these innovations scale, and how can we help these people with funding. That's the bigger problem, and I think a lot of what Wilgrow is now doing is focused on this.
Srinivas, you also mentor entrepreneurs, correct?
That's right.
Yeah. So while mentoring, did you happen to notice this fact that somewhere our management education is falling short in terms of in terms of equipping our entrepreneurs with managerial skills in terms of conscious leadership. What I mean to say is whether it is just social entrepreneurs or even the business ecosystem per se, the
Right.
basic education today, do you feel that it is falling short in terms of educating our youth towards more conscious decision making in terms of business, or do you still feel it, do you also feel that B school education is still focused on the old ways of doing business, that profit, because as the years are passing, rolling by, companies have started broadening their vision towards also thinking about the society, thinking about the environment, thinking about sustainability,
Right.
and how their products, their solutions, their services are, adding value to the society around them. So,
Right.
do you think somewhere the education today lacks that?
So let me put it this way: it's not about what the education lacks. Uh, it's more about the the field and the space that an entrepreneur is working in, and second is the kind of challenge they're working on. So uh, broadly, you could have an entrepreneur who's coming from urban centers, people like you and me, or it could be a person who's coming from that community or from that economic background. Now, if I took folks who are like us, right, urban, uh, prestigious B school, a lot of you know they're no different from us. The challenge then is they make a technology or they make a pretty interesting innovation. Now they've got to help that model succeed in a market in amongst people that they don't know. So what's then important is whether the entrepreneur, the innovator has really strong consumer insights. Yeah. And this once they've got a strong consumer insight, that's got to translate into traction with consumers. Consumer here is a farmer. Yeah. So which then leads you to the question on how are they going about building awareness? Yeah.
Correct.
And building awareness in a market like India, which is so diverse and so widespread, is the challenge. Yeah. So you could have the best, most fabulous innovation, which is doing a lot of saving or improving productivity or improving access to knowledge and markets. But if you're not able to reach your customer, the farmer here, it's difficult. So that's the first thing as far as the innovators who are like us are concerned. The second piece, I think, is equally important, and often it's the second piece which people confuse with agribusiness, which is that there's a lot of innovators who come from a very technical background or who come from communities and backgrounds which are similar to the kind of which are the problems they're solving. In this case, often they are highly technically qualified. because they've either lived through the problem, and because of those problems, they've been inspired to study in those areas. Yeah, uh, and this then implies that their business acumen is not so strong. So they'll be technically very sound. They're very connected to the local markets and the community, but then they're not able to make this into a strong business offering. They're not able to convince an investor. Uh, and unfortunately, today in this country, we still look at uh, uh, education, qualifications, and the kind of business school you went to, your grasp over English language as surrogates for investability. Yeah. So on one side, you have folks like us who are trying to figure out market access. On the other side, you have folks who are technically pretty sound, but trying to learn business capabilities. So each have their strengths, and a business school today just cannot answer it. But what's going to help is support in the form of mentoring, support in the form of more technical assistance, which is tailored, which is sort of bespoke for the entrepreneur. So if there is an entrepreneur who is uh, comes from a sort of rural background, is not so strong in English, he would definitely help in would could do with some help in say marketing, brand development, even social media, or even help in fundraising. But if there's a person coming from say Bangalore trying to crack market somewhere in say Jharkhand, it'll help if you're able to connect with local organizations, help them get access to markets, interpret social, the customs and so on. So that's the kind of thing an incubator like a Wilgrow is able to sort of figure out. And you do that matchmaking, you figure out what that company needs, and plug that in, and help the entrepreneur succeed. Yeah.
Perfect.
There's
Yeah.
no way a business school is going to be able to teach that, because often a business school is a cookie cutter model.
Yeah, makes sense, makes sense. So just moving further, Srinivas, can you tell us more about the pheromone-based pesticide that you worked upon?
Yeah, so that's pretty interesting thing. Uh, I was pretty, I used to work with Mahindra, working in the then CEO Pawan Goenka's office on strategy and business development, and I'd been thinking about getting into the entrepreneurship space, and it was a pretty, for me, a really brave, bold move. Regular job and a standard setup, and I jumped into this company, which was founded by a guy uh, who's very unlike me, right? And his control in English was not so great, and the product that he was doing was very interesting, which is what got me into that company. Yeah. So we've always made pesticides which kill pests. Now an insect is a pest because we've now started growing something in large scale. So the insects always existed. Yeah. And so if you had, say, rice growing in small patches, that insect would have fed on that rice and no one would have bothered. But now suddenly start growing paddy in thousands of acres, and you want to feed people, and it's like a factory line. That same insect has now become a pest because it is now eating the paddy that you want. And the only way which has always worked has been a poison. You have to kill the thing, right? And if it is a poison to the insect, it's a poison to a human being. In the past, communities have used more nature-derived solutions. It could have been, a neem-based uh, powder or cow dung. If you hear the traditional wisdom still, but then as things got more efficient, we shifted to more technologically superior products, which were all inorganic compounds. Now, but for the last half a century, there has been a solution. It's not a complete solution, but I think works, which is you figure out what's your pest, and often these pests use what's called a pheromone. A pheromone is nothing but a scent molecule. Yeah. Uh, Insects give out pheromones, not just insects, actually, human beings also give out pheromones. It's just that we can't smell it anymore uh, for different purposes. But some insects, which are pests, give it out when they're ready to mate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you mimic that pheromone and put it inside a trap along with a little bit of a poison. So this pheromone, so effectively what you're doing is you're attracting the male of the species and you kill it off. If the male is dead, there is no fertilization, there is no eggs laid. And if there are no eggs laid, there is no worm that you will find inside your fruit or vegetable.
That's
Which is why
genius.
now, huh?
That's genius.
Yeah, it's really intelligent. So you could have a bee buzzing around your fruit or your flower. The bee won't die, but you've got that specific pest which lays eggs. That thing won't. I mean, everyone will be alive. It's just the males are dead. There are lots of females in those fields. Uh, it's been there for a long while, right? But the reason it's not caught on is because you need patience. One and two, a pheromone-based solution is not a answer for all kinds of pests.
Okay.
So you, the company is still around. They're still working to build on the business, uh, but it's been a huge challenge helping farmers understand that. Yeah, that a pheromone-based trap will solve the problem for one bunch of pests, not all. For the others, you still have to use some solution.
How,
Now,
how have been to this? How receptive have farmers been to this idea?
oh, well, it took some doing, but the most dramatic demos were the one which worked. So, for example, this this pheromone is effectively a liquid, okay, and you would put it in droppers. You just need some 4 drops into a piece of plywood because the plywood would soak it up, and we had kept it inside this airtight pouch. So the most dramatic demo would be you open it up and just throw it on the ground. And when people say that there are no such pests here, the thing would attract hundreds of that pest immediately to it. Because that piece of wood now is like the most attractive female for miles. Yeah. Uh, but then when farmers saw that, it had a huge impact on them. And that's how we slowly converted folks in Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, parts of Maharashtra to using it. But the company is still a long way from doing what the potential of pheromones are. So, for example, uh, there is a pest. So you must be aware of the insect which is attacking BT cotton. So,
Yeah,
are you aware of the story there?
not really.
So India's cotton boom happened because there used to be this little pest called the bollworm, and which is ravaging Indian cotton fields. And then Monsanto came out with this cotton breed which was resistant to this bollworm. So people happily used it, and India's productivity shot up, went through the roof. But over time, the bollworm has mutated, and now the bollworm is resistant to the pesticide, that particular kind of seed. Number one, and number two, uh, the usual pest used to be this bollworm. Now that's not a pest anymore, but some other species now become a pest. So what has happened is India. So a couple of years ago, Punjab, which sows a lot of cotton, uh, most of the fields got devastated because of this, what's called the pink bollworm, and there is no solution to it. At least there's no chemical which solves it. So there were riots. Uh, People lost their lives. There were Bathinda and some other places were shut down. So you can read up the news on it. It was all because a particular pesticide which I think Bayer gave, and that thing didn't work, and a lot of fields were wasted. Now there is a pheromone-based solution for it. It's still in the development, and I hope this company comes up with it soon. Uh, but yeah, the insect will never get immune to it. It's like saying, I will stop getting attracted to women. So as long as the male is a male, it'll always go towards the insect, towards the trap, and it'll always die not because of the pheromone, but because of the poison. Yes, there is a huge opportunity. It just needs a lot of effort and time.
This is interesting. This is very interesting.
Yeah, there are more such insect stories for later.
Okay. So Srinivas, moving ahead, how would you say, Wilgrow is helping social entrepreneurs align themselves with sustainable development goals?
So So the SDG, and I'm referring, I think people popularly refer to it as different numbers, and I think there's one on water, there's one on livelihoods, there's one on rural communities. Uh, so instead of quoting the numbers, what I would rather talk about is how Wilgrow is connecting entrepreneurs. So at the heart of what Wilgrow does, we want to see for-profit social enterprises thrive. And we are interested in for-profits because only if the business model is viable, standalone, uh, will it survive and create an impact, and that impact will then spread. Yeah, if it is always forthright with a donation or a grant, then it's not going to stand on its own feet. And
Correct.
only if the right. So we look at entrepreneurs and we look at business models which have viability baked in, which are also working by default or have at the core of their business model at the bottom of the pyramid. So for us, it's a non-negotiable mandate that we work with the bottom of the pyramid, and it's defined for agribusiness as any farmer with less than 10 acres. Yeah. Uh, so because of such a kind of criteria, and because of our sharp focus on business viability, what it is doing is just fundamentally helping the baseline change on livelihood. It's changing the way markets treat small farmers, small landholders, because it's fundamentally changing the way you would treat resources at a really small unit level. Yeah. So it's just the paradigm is changing, and that's how the SDG goals on water or livelihoods or rural communities are getting met.
True. When you go about mentoring the entrepreneurs coming to you,
Right.
is there any part, or do you tell them that? Do you feel the need to tell them that entrepreneurs should not only just look at what their vision or their goal is, but they should also go one step further and align themselves with SDGs so that the goals are collectively met, both on an individual level and also on a national level or on a global level per se.
So far, we've not had to consciously tell an entrepreneur about the SDG because we've Wilgro has been standing for uh, business ideas and impact areas which are completely aligned to SDG. So entrepreneurs know that whatever we do is connected in a way to the SDG, and it is in fulfilling the goal of what we set out to do. And because of that, it has not been a chore for us. It has not been a problem reminding an entrepreneur of creating impact. So it's just that when Wilgrow, from the very first day, Wilgrow talks to the entrepreneur, you talk about the impact on, it could be on livelihoods, it would be on productivity, usage of resources, and reduction of impact on the environment. So because these are non-negotiable for us, and because entrepreneurs know this, just those folks, first of all, it's almost this self-filtering process which happens. Folks who are keenly interested in the SDG goals in a way, if you will, end up coming to us, and that's what also attracts us to them. So it becomes a mutually beneficial relationship.
That's great. That's great. So, Shri, actually coming to the last question, can you just tell us about some of the
Hey, yo. Hello.
Srinivas? Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm there. I'm there now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was just saying that can you tell us about some path-breaking social innovations in the field of agriculture that you have come across?
Sure. So there's a few that I want to highlight that we're doing right now, and few that I've seen interesting. And they span across the spectrum. It could be a technology innovation, it could be a business model, or even just the way the product is put together. For example, an out-and-out technology innovation is something a lady called Soumya Rao Bhubaneswar is doing. She is trying to make a soil test machine which can give you the health of the soil within minutes. And she does this by mapping the spectral image of what the soil is reflecting back. And what's interesting is that she's deaf and has a speech impairment. But if she pulls off a technology innovation, this entire soil health card scheme that the government is running and all the different questions that the farmer has currently, all those will get solved because today the soil health test takes weeks to do, and
That's
here she's
amazing.
talking about minutes. Yeah. Uh, then there's one more company, Flybird, which it's in Wilgro's portfolio. Flybird makes drip irrigation controllers. Now, what Flybird has done is not a technology innovation, but it has fundamentally just changed the way uh, this product is made. It has been the like like a monopoly by Israeli companies, which have pretty much invented this drip irrigation controller. But Flybird's product is 1/5 or even cheaper than theirs. One and two works ideally even for a sub 10-acre farmer. So just the way they've looked at the product design, put together the technology, and made it accessible has just changed the paradigm in how irrigation automation can happen. Yeah. Uh, then there's a company which is from an innovation angle, just the way the product, the chemistry is relooking how we look at cattle feed. And cattle feed is not something that folks in India think, nothing can happen. It's just grass is grass, right? So, but these guys are upcycling fruit waste uh, and in a way which is far cheaper and far more nutritious than what the large, MNCs are doing in feed. And and Indian cattle is one of the least productive in the world. And what this guy's feed is doing is improving the productivity by at least 30%. In milk yield. So that's another kind of an innovation that at a chemistry level. Then this pheromone company that I used to work with, they're working on molecules for which there is, on pests, for which there is no known solution in the world. Yeah. So if they come out, it's going to be something really exciting for India because this is R&D and this is technology coming the first time out of India, and that's not something that you often see, especially in agriculture. Uh, this is and I also know of I spoke about this company which is making a commodities exchange for small farmers. Uh, so commodity exchange by itself is a known entity, but making it work for small farmers and making sure that the access is widespread is, I think, a fabulous business innovation. And can you hear me? Hello? Hello?